You want the tight version? Here it is. Think Dynasty, then press fast forward. The Chiefs get shut out in September headlines, and 3 weeks later they torch the Raiders 31-0 like they never left the throne. That's not luck. That's a reminder, loud and clear, that this roster still knows how to get hot when it counts. Reuters' Patrick Mahomes wasn't just serviceable, he was surgical. He finished the game with 286 yards and 3 touchdowns before sitting comfortably in the third quarter, and Kansas City's offense looked cohesive from the opener to the finish. That night also marked Rashee Rice's return from a 6-game suspension and knee trouble, and he immediately reminded everyone why he's explosive, hauling in 2 scores and giving the Chiefs a vertical weapon they'd been missing. Kansas City Chiefs, defensively, it was a clinic. The Raiders were held to 95 total yards. 95. The Chiefs' front seven turned a mismatch into a rout, forcing short drives and dominating field position all afternoon. When a team can blank an opponent that handily, it becomes hard to argue they're not trending in the right direction. Reuters and Reuters. A former rival coach noticed. Antonio Pierce, who knows the division and has been in the trenches with these offenses, didn't mince words. They're built for this. This team is built for January and February. Pierce's point wasn't a hot take, it was a warning. Don't read October and November like the whole story. The Chiefs have a track record of peaking in the winter, and veteran teams with a Hall of Famer quarterback tend to do exactly that. X, formerly Twitter. Okay, pause. Let's unpack why this matters more than a single dominant Sunday. 1. Experience still scales. This roster has been battle-tested, not only by wins, but by the close game stress of playoff runs. Mahomes and Andy Reid have built a timing and trust that shortcuts growing pains. When the game slips into late-season minutia, 2-minute drills, blitz recognition, fourth-quarter play calling, those are the moments this team has historically owned. Kansas City Chiefs, 2. The Rice variable is real. Getting a legitimate downfield threat back changes coverages and spacing for everyone. It's not just what he does with the ball, it's who he forces defenses to respect pre-snap. That opens lanes for Kelsey, for Hollywood Brown, for play action to breathe. If Rice stays healthy and crisp, Kansas City's ceiling bumps up meaningfully. Reuters 3. Defense buying time. A shutout like that isn't a fluke, it's a blueprint. When the unit can create 3-and-outs and short fields repeatedly, the offense doesn't need to chase. It can methodically score, rest players, and control the clock. Exactly the recipe for late-season momentum. Reuters, but hold the confetti. There are reasons to temper feverish dynasty backtakes. A, margins always matter. Early season slippage costs the Chiefs close games. Late game execution has bitten them before. 1 or 2 refs, a kicker miss, an injury. NFL narratives pivot on razor-thin margins. This team's experience reduces variance, but it doesn't erase it. Reuters B, depth and durability. Championships aren't won on a single Sunday or with one hot streak. They're built on depth. The Chiefs have spent for now, but attrition and matchup variance across a full schedule test every corner of a roster. That's the quiet structural question teams face after November. Kansas City Chiefs, C. Opponents adjust. When a team looks this dangerous, game plans adapt. Rival coordinators will study that 31-0 tape and look to force the Chiefs into uncomfortable scripts, heavy pressures, disguised coverages, and controlled clock strategies. The Chiefs can counter, but the chess match sharpens. Reuters, so what's the realistic scoreboard for the "are the Chiefs back" question? Short answer, yes, they are very much alive and dangerous, but the narrative is not settled. Pierce's warning is a useful lens, not gospel. He's saying, don't get distracted by early season noise. The Chiefs still have the blueprint for January football. The proof will be whether they sustain this level of play against better opponents and through the inevitable grind. X, formerly Twitter. If you're making a bet, metaphorical or literal, here are 3 things worth watching over the next month. How Mahomes plays in hostile, late-season-like conditions. Games where the crowd, weather, and physical wear test timing. Whether Rashee Rice stays healthy and can consistently demand single coverage looks. If he does, the offense becomes generationally harder to scheme. Kansas City Chiefs, the defense's ability to repeat this sort of dominance against varied offensive styles. A one-off shutdown is awesome. Consistency is championship level. Reuters, here's the mic drop insight. Dynasty resumes aren't cinematic, they're surgical. They are not built on single blowouts, but on sustained excellence when games matter most. The Chiefs have the architecture, coaching, quarterback, and now more weapons to be that surgical team. Antonio Pierce calling them built for January and February is less bravado and more a scouting report from someone who's been in the struggle. Final line you can use on camera. The Chiefs didn't just win on Sunday. They issued a notice. If you want to know what a playoff-ready team looks like in October, watch the tape from Arrowhead. But also remember, winning in January is multidimensional. Kansas City has the parts. Now they have to put them together, week after week. Miss one step and the story changes. Get ready, because this team is trying to make you believe the calendar still favors them. Reuters want this tightened into a punchy 8-minute narration with shot cues. Arrowhead crowd, Rice highlights, Mahomes pockwork, Pierce soundbite, defensive stops, close-up reaction shots. I'll do it. Script, B-roll list, and suggested on-screen graphics included. They looked broken 2 weeks ago. Now they look dangerous, and that's exactly why a veteran voice like Antonio Pierce is warning the rest of the league to watch out. The Chiefs aren't peaking by accident. They're reassembling the exact parts that win in January. Reuters start with the obvious swing. Kansas City's 31-0 dismantling of the Raiders was more than a statement score. It was a structural reset. The Chiefs controlled the line of scrimmage, chewed clock, and held Las Vegas to just 95 total yards. Patrick Mahomes didn't have to dazzle. He managed the game, finished with strong numbers, and rode the engine that actually decides tight games. Balance. That kind of defensive dominance and offensive efficiency is what separates an okay autumn from a dangerous winter contender. Reuters' Rashee Rice returning matters in ways the box score understates. He's a real vertical threat who stretches coverages and creates favorable matchups for the rest of the offense. And his first game back produced 2 TDs and immediate chemistry with Mahomes. A Mahomes offense with a trustworthy deep option is qualitatively different than one without it. Defenses must respect the seam, and that opens everything underneath. The Rice comeback instantly raises Kansas City's ceiling because it converts schematic stress into real-time leverage. Reuters. But it's not just the offense. The Chiefs' defensive numbers the last month read like a playoff unit, limiting opponents' scoring, stuffing the run, and making quarterbacks uncomfortable enough to force mistakes. That performance through the front seven and secondary is why Pierce, or any coach who's paid attention to late-season patterns, sees this as a team getting hot at the exact right time. A defense that can take the air out of the ball while your QB executes late-game scripts is a recipe opponents hate to face. The Washington Post. What makes the warning credible isn't nostalgia for past Chiefs teams, it's roster and timing. Kansas City spent the offseason and early schedule building core continuity, then took external hits, injuries, suspensions that created short-term chaos. Now those pieces are returning. Rice, the health profile, stabilizing, the offense finding its rhythm, and the coaching staff is dialing the playbook toward what works. Teams that win late in the season tend to do it on a foundation of depth, situational smarts, and fewer mental errors. The Chiefs are trending in that exact direction. Reuters' schedule helps too. While the league will throw high-difficulty games at Kansas City, Buffalo looms, 2 Broncos meetings are in the mix, much of the stretch run looks manageable on paper. That's not how championships are earned. You still must beat the good teams. But a softer slate can magnify a hot team's window. Confidence grows, injuries have less time to compound, and momentum accumulates. Pierce's point is a simple one. When an elite roster gets healthy and confident against a cooperative schedule, that's when real threats emerge. The Washington Post, now the realism check. A late-season surge is persuasive, not prophetic. Mahomes is playing at a high level, but playoff football is a different animal. Defenses tighten, officiating matters more in tight windows, and depth gets exposed. The Chiefs still need to prove they can close tight games against playoff-quality defenses, and they can't afford complacency on special teams or the O-line. Pierce's warning carries weight because it's tactical, not mystical, but the league has shown year after year that momentum is fragile. Reuters. That said, Pierce isn't shouting dynasty as much as he's sounding the alarm. Handle Kansas City with respect or get flattened in October's first gusts of winter. The formula that wins championships is the same every year. Elite QB play, a defense that can take over games, and enough supporting cast to absorb injuries. Kansas City is rechecking those boxes in real time. If they keep doing the boring things right, protecting Mahomes, running the ball where it helps, and keeping penalties to a minimum, they'll be one of the teams no one wants to meet in January. Reuters' final image to hold. A club that began the season under pressure, now clicking on all three phases, with a franchise QB, a returning vertical weapon, and a defense reminding opponents how hard it is to score on them. Pierce's message is simple and surgical. Don't write the Chiefs off. They're assembling the exact toolkit that wins in the cold. If you're an opposing coach, you treat that like intelligence. If you're a fan, you enjoy the ride and maybe buckle up.